something sinister to it. The pendulum swinging slower, degenerate moving through the city with criminal stealth. Welcome to enemy turf, harder than immigrants work. Golf is distant in my shirt. Get up off the pavement, brush the dirt up off my psyche.
Earl Sweatshirt is an LA-based rapper. His real name I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to even try. He started working under the name Sly Tendencies. He released a mixtape at the age of 16. Another rapper called Tyler, the Creator, who I've heard of, got him to change his name to Earl Sweatshirt, which is just an unusual name for a rapper, so it's instantly memorable, so that's clever. And he joined Tyler's rap group called Odd Future. However, shortly after that, his mother stepped in and refused to let any of the work that he'd done be released and sent him to a therapeutic retreat school for at-risk boys in Samoa. He returned about a year and a half later, and he started to work again with Odd Future, and he started doing his solo work. His first solo album was released in 2013, and he has released 3 more since then. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was Earl Sweatshirt's debut album. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to say that this is a bad album and that it's a rubbish album, and etc. What I am going to say is I do not like it. Okay. And to be fair, I am not the target audience. I'm a British middle-aged white man. And so this kind of music really isn't aimed at me as a consumer. And that's okay. I'm all right with that. So let's do some of this description stuff. So I usually go through from music and then vocals and then lyrics and themes and stuff. So let's do the same thing again. Musically, the music backing, most of it sounds like it's slowed down. There's certainly slowed down samples of stuff on the drum machines, where I'm fairly sure the drum machine isn't just slowed down as a drum machine, but it's also it's actually been recorded and then slowed down because the sounds themselves sound like they've been slowed down. And it gives the whole thing a kind of this feeling of wading through molasses in some way with the music. It's all kind of there are apparently samples in here. There are obviously drum machines being used. Looking through the list of credits, there's an awful lot of list of credits of technical people and producers and co-performers, which I presume is the other rappers. But is listed there are several people playing keyboard and trumpet. Okay, so I couldn't tell you where the trumpet came in. There is, as well as kind of some backing and the drums, there's a thick electronic bass sound, which is very prevalent in hip-hop and in some more mainstream pop these days. It's not a sound that I'm a huge fan of. I'm sure it can be hugely effective in a large room where you've got a decent sound system and a crowd, and you get this kind of sound going on. So I didn't find it musically appealing. There was nothing here that made me feel like this is a nice groove. So it's not hugely irritating, but it really wasn't my kind of thing. So the rapping, I'm not really sure. I'm really not generally very well qualified to talk about flow in terms of rapping. I didn't, in terms of the way the rapping is done, excuse me, I didn't find it worse or than some. That I think there is better rap out there as far as I'm concerned. It's maybe at times less rhythmic than most. And I spotted less in the way of rhymes, I think, in here. There are, of course, several guests, of course. I wasn't necessarily sure at which points it was Mr. Sweatshirt who was rapping and other people here. So let's get on to the theme. So it hasn't got what a lot of hip-hop albums seem to have from somewhere around 1990 onwards for quite a while. Vignettes, little kind of story bits in between. It's just track, 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 and that's fine. Lyrics, there's a lot of obscenity in here. There's a lot of use of the words I'm only going to use letters to refer to, the N word, an S word, a B word, and at least 2 F words in here. I did manage to find bits that I'm going to play at the start and the end which don't have obscenities in them. So, that's not because I necessarily object to the odd obscenity in music, but it's because on my channel I'm trying to be really careful about being not doing stuff like that. It's also, I won't show covers that have got nudity on them. Again, it's not that I personally object to nudity, I'm just being careful about these things. Let's get back to the themes. There's also several un-PC terms for several minorities in here. It's one of those things where you kind of feel like maybe there's an imperative upon someone like me to be open-minded towards rap, and I try to be, and towards hip-hop, but certainly some of the things that are portrayed here don't show that same or any thought of open-mindedness in terms of the lyrics here. There's probably a lot of coded stuff in here that I haven't picked up on. There always is in rap, I think. There's a lot of use of slang terms for things that I don't recognise, and there are a few that I do recognise as well. There is, so one thing that I would say is slightly in its favour, there's not a lot of stuff about gang violence. It's not particularly gang-based, so it's not gangster. But the attitudes to women, the attitudes to relationships, to sex, there's violence against women portrayed here, and drug use, lots and lots of drug use. And then there's bits about his relationship with his absentee father. So I'm going to quote from an American black jazz trumpeter called Wynton Marsalis, who didn't like hip-hop. And he said, hip-hop reinforces destructive behavior at home and influences the world's view of the Afro-American in a decidedly negative direction. And he was saying this generally about hip-hop, but I think that albums like this, absolutely, he's hit the nail on the head, that it doesn't do any favours to anybody. I'm going to try not to bang on about this for too long, but if there are people who are growing up in their teens and they're listening to this and see this as being role models, that is really not a good role model. And also for people like me who I'm trying to remember if I've ever met an Afro-American person, but the image that it's giving of Afro-Americans, I am thankfully utterly convinced that this is not representative of the majority of Afro-Americans, because if it was, there'd be a very sad state of affairs. So it's a very negative representation. So I don't like it. It's not my kind of thing. I can't really play much at the beginning and the end that are typical bits, but I will play what is probably my favourite bit, which is the introduction to the track Horse, which has actually got some musicality to it, and it's before we start rapping. So please let me know what you think. That's it from me for now.
Gorgeous, chrome-plated horse whip, home-making paintings from poorer quality porn flicks. Court adjourned and the verdict still saucy sack swinging like dub D40 on a door hinge. Good Lord, walked light like the floor slick, look bored, hoard all mics in a